It is 7:30 on a Saturday and, well, no, it's 7:15 I'm going in to start my weekend shift on surge at 7:30. The other guys last week were there until 10:30 from their morning start. I'm with a reg today, which means that probably more time in theatre. First things first though, will always be water. It is 1 o'clock. We just finished the biggest ward round ever. Went for till about maybe 10:30, 11, and then after that we went around and just finished off the jobs that need to be done. There's nobody who needs theatre at the moment, so I'm just going to lunch to meet my sister. Reminder about what it's like to have your first sort of days and more specifically to your first procedures in the hospital, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience. I was up in theatre and the patient needed a catheter before the surgery was starting, and everybody was actually ready to go. The patient needed a catheter, so I said I'd do it, and of course the whole room was standing around waiting for me to get this done. All the surgeons, all the nurses, and this is my second week of surgery. I've only done one catheter in the week before, and that was on a patient on the ward. In surgery it's just slightly different. For example, on the ward you generally double glove. In theatre you don't, you just clean the area without sacrificing a dirty hand. So just little things like that. The patient had a stoma, so when I went to put the drape down, I touched the stoma, which is also considered dirty and so not okay for the drape. So just a few little things, and on top of that I probably wasn't proficient enough in the whole process, making sure I had all the things to do them in the right order such that it was clean. So I just wanted to throw out my bad experience and sort of remind you guys that it's very normal actually when you get into the hospital, and while it's quite devastating when it happens to you, you learn these activities and simulations in very fabricated settings, and then you get into whichever hospital or GP setting you are and your surroundings are different, and often the equipment is actually a little different too. For me, I have done a catheter last week. This week it was simply in a different setting. It was in theatre as opposed to on the ward, and the last time I'd done a catheter in theatre was a whole 9 months ago when I was last doing surgery. Even in that time, it was enough time for me to drop my skills and for that automaticity to disappear, and for me to really have to think about all the different steps. Normal experience. Some people of course are excellent and will just do one and be safe forever, or they're just very logical. That's not me. So while today wasn't a catastrophic experience by any means, it was a reminder to me about how overwhelming it can be at times and how it makes you feel like you're below the skill level that you need to be, because everybody around you is so experienced. Not only generally, but they're so experienced in that specific area, in surgery, in that subspecialty, so they know exactly what they're doing. And you as a medical student, it might be your first time, it might be your third time, but either way they are on a different level to you. So don't be disheartened. My plan from here is just to do it again. That's not to say that it didn't feel bad at the time. I certainly did feel bad at the time, and it's easy to sort of fall into the trap of thinking that you're not up to standard, and it's okay because you can't do everything perfectly all the time. That's what we're in med school for. That's why we keep training as doctors, because there's a lot and you're gonna get good at what you do a lot. So that's just my experience for today. I hope it's helpful to any of you guys. If you're having a similar experience in the hospital or in a new setting, learning some new skills. about 20 past 6 on my first day of my first week of my new subspecialty rotation. So we've done 2 weeks of colorectal and this week we're moving on to upper GI. So that means we have a different team of consultants and registrars and interns. All of these general surgery teams though are on the same ward, so not much else is changing. And I think today I'm going to be in theatre and on the ward doing jobs. I'm actually also on call tonight, and I was on call Saturday, and I was also on call on Friday. So long run of on calls, but I'm not feeling too tired now, so that's okay. Day 2 of upper GI surgery, and this morning I'm in theatre, in the afternoon I'm on the ward. In theatre we've got a hiatus hernia repair, laparoscopic, plus or minus open if needed, and then we've got to remove a lap band in a 40-something-year-old woman. First things first, 7 AM ward rounds. Aaron's car. We're in a different car today, you'll see, because Aaron's car had the number plates stolen front and back yesterday, so that's a small problem. And look at how different the hospital looks at 20 to 6 daylight savings. It is Monday, March is April, what day is it? It's the 10th. It is the 10th of April today. I am now officially halfway through my surgery rotation, and in the middle of this block of rotation we are having a group learning week. It is actually 12 o'clock on Monday because my first lecture isn't until 1, which is delightful. And this is actually the week of Good Friday, so we get Friday off as well. So pretty unusually cruisy, which is lovely. I have an assignment. My first long case that I've been talking to you guys about is due on Wednesday morning, and I only picked up a patient that I was finally happy with reporting on, must have been last Wednesday. So cutting it very fine to get this report done, and given that I had an on-call on Friday night and then Saturday, this is not usually like me to leave an assignment like this the last minute, but I've taken on so much this year, and other things around me just had closer deadlines that have taken up my time, and I've had to push getting the case done to the side at times. I even found multiple patients in the last fortnight that I had to drop because the cases didn't end up being intricate enough to have a discussion about. Perhaps I could have made a discussion about the case, but I'm getting really excited about my case actually now that I've done more of it last night. That's what I've been doing this morning. I've been trying to put together his case, and I'm almost done. I'll have to spend a lot of tomorrow going through and finishing off the final details. It should be finished in the next 24 hours, which is lovely. I have lectures from 1:30 till 6:30 today. Then I need to go and see my patient again, who I'm doing my case on, in the hospital, and see how he's doing. Luckily, he's a really lovely guy and up for a chat. If you're interested, my lectures today include an ICU lecture, then we have a CBL on neurodegenerative disorders, then we finish off with a lecture on alcohol and illicit substance abuse. Pretty heavy topics today. I'm just gonna come home and keep working on my case. So I'm gonna have this group learning week, have Good Friday off, and then I'm actually going back to the hospital over Easter, while my colleagues have that week off as our mid-semester break. And I'll talk to you guys more about why very soon. Okay, I'm off to my lecture. See you guys soon. Say that all the time. Hey team, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about our group learning weeks, or our lecture weeks. As an example, this one that I'm currently going through. So it is Tuesday of this group learning week, and this is a super short group learning week because Friday will be Good Friday. Yesterday was Monday, and we had a cruisy start at 1 o'clock and then 3 lectures after that. The first one was titled an ICU lecture, and it actually ended up being a really simple practical approach to seizures. And one of the big messages of it was that of pseudo seizures and how they can be quite difficult to differentiate. It's important to not miss a seizure, and it's important to not overdiagnose the seizures at the same time. Having a seizure or having epilepsy can have significant implications for the patient into the future, including that of taking medication and also affecting things like driving. The second lecture was titled Neurodegenerative Disorders on our schedule, and it actually ended up focusing on acute strokes. We revised some important stroke mimics such as migraines, seizures, hypoglycemia, base occupying lesions, and MS. We also focused on some important acute management principles such as keeping the patient nearby mouth until they've had a swallow screen because of the aspiration risk. Patients are acutely treated with 300 mg of aspirin for 2 weeks and 100 mg thereafter lifelong. If the patient's already on aspirin, you load them with 300 mg of clopidogrel, followed by 75 mg long term. Suspected stroke patients will receive an urgent CT if we're considering thrombolysis. They'll also receive an urgent CT if they're on anticoagulants or if they have rapidly progressing deficits. Otherwise, a CT should be done within 24 hours. For thrombolysis, it can't be done at the Northwest Regional Hospital in Burnie, but it can be done here in Launceston or down in Hobart. You can thrombolyse a patient who presents with an ischemic stroke within 4.5 hours, ideally within 3 hours, as long as they have no other contraindications to thrombolysis. In terms of blood pressure, we only treat the patient's hypertension if it is over 200 systolic. This is for an ischemic stroke. After 2 weeks, we aggressively treat their blood pressure down to 130 on 80. In the initial stages, that rise in blood pressure can be physiologic and protective, so we don't lower it unless it's presenting another risk. In an ischemic stroke, they're in a prothrombotic state, and so we treat them with DVT prophylaxis in the form of TED stocking. They use TEDs for 1 week, followed by low molecular weight heparin. There are some basic important points, and of course there are many more things that should be done within the context of a potential stroke, including ECGs, blood sugar levels, carotid ultrasounds, echoes, etc., depending on the patient. Stroke is not an uncommon OSCE for med students, and it's something that we would be expected to render management on. So it's important to get some of these core principles down. So both of those lectures were for 2 hours, and our last lecture was just an hour, and it was on alcohol and illicit substance abuse. Now it is lunchtime on Tuesday. I've just finished my morning. I started at 8:45 with a pharmacology Q&A. It was a chance for us to sit down as final year students, ask any burning questions we have for us going into our internship, where we will be responsible for drug prescription and making sure they're safe. Then at 10:15 we jumped on the bus and we went actually out to the Newnham campus, which is the greater UTAS campus here in Launceston. Out at Newnham, the nursing school has this simulation lab, which is just wicked. There are 2 mirrored rooms and they're boxed off, and there's a one-sided mirror out into a little room where a doctor and a nurse will be watching us and controlling the lab. There's a mannequin in the room which is electronically controlled, and he blinks and has breath sounds, and there's a microphone coming up from the roof which the doctors and the nurse back on the other side of the mirror, they talk to us through. They give the history of the patient, or they're huffing and puffing because they're short of breath, or they're pretending to be confused. Whatever the scenario calls for. Usually as a group of 4 medical students, you come in and there's an acute scenario and you have to save the patient, and everything is dynamic and evolving. Usually the patient is completely fine when you walk in and they crash in some way. But drugs and masks and monitors and a phone to call your seniors, everything is there. It's just like in a hospital bay. And so it's a really good chance to actually do things and see how you cope. So I love them, they're really fun. I'll talk to you more about simulation after this. At 1:45 we have a DOSI session, which is direct observed clinical examination skill, and really it's just practice OSCEs. Today will be the whole cohort there. We have 2 or 3 cases usually. One student sits up the front and the doctor taking the session is usually the patient for us, and you just have to work through your 8-minute OSCE. You get 2 minutes reading time and you come in and then you do whatever the task says. They're really helpful, particularly to do yourself, practice an OSCE and get some feedback from your seniors. It's really valuable, and they also give you some ideas about what you should be thinking about for your OSCEs coming up at the end of the year. I love feedback, good or bad. Sometimes the bad stuff hurts for a little, it stings. But then it gets better, keeps better, it's worth it. I recommend you take opportunities like this for feedback wherever you can, because before you know it, they will be gone. That goes for an hour, we have a half-hour break, and then we have a CBL on ENT emergencies, so ear, nose and throat emergencies, and that goes for an hour and a half. And we finish at 5 today. Tomorrow we start at 8:30, we have a 2-hour lecture from a local GP on diabetes. We then have a big break, I think it's about 2 hours. Then we have the second lecture of a series of lectures on CBT from a psychologist, and also a GP that works part-time as an academic at our clinical school. Right after that we have our first session from a lady who works at a health recruitment company, I think. Maybe she's had experience working in a health recruitment company, and she's going to talk to us for an hour and a half about how we can make our CVs better for our job applications coming up. Finally, we have another hour lecture from the doctor who taught us on Monday afternoon on drug and alcohol abuse. Thursday is another relatively light day. We start with a 9 AM CBL on acquired brain injury, and then we have a huge gap until our 1 PM 90-minute lecture on IV fluid management, and I think that's from an intensivist or an anaesthetist. Then we have a break until our last lecture at 3:30, and this one again is related to future job applications by the same lady, and it's about our interview process. And then that's the whole week done. Friday off, which is lovely. I'm thinking now I probably don't have enough room to talk to you guys about simulation, so I'll talk to you guys about that another time. It's a really fun thing to do, and you can learn lots of quick handy management skills during those sessions.